So buckle in. It's going to be a long one to start the day.
Douglas's build a lot more conventional. Not much of the way going on in new cards, with the exception of 3 main deck copies of Languish and 4 main deck copies of Clash of Wills. No surprises there. Also 2 copies of Mage Ring Network in Douglas's deck, which seems very well suited for Control Mirror, which is often about who can generate the most mana.
Coffey will start off with a Polluted Delta, while Aintrazi starts off with a Dismal Backwater. He's up to 21. His round number 1 here from Richmond is underway. Coffey will draw a card. Again, as oftentimes is the case with these control mirrors, as Coffey does play a Swamp, it's just going to be land go for a little while here.
Yep. The first person to miss a land drop is going to be where the initial action on the game is determined. Once someone starts missing land drops, the pressure is on them to start casting stuff so they don't discard the hand size, and that gives the person with more mana an opportunity to resolve their stuff.
Well, Aintrazi is going to be the first one to have some action here in a copy of Thoughtseize. Coffey's going to sacrifice that Polluted Delta, go down to 19 and get a basic island. Wouldn't be too surprised to maybe see a Clash of Wills here, perhaps.
Seems like a good spot, and if you anticipate that Ollie is on a blue-black control deck or an Esper control deck as well, Clash of Wills does go down in value as the game progresses. Once players have 8, 9, 10 lands in play, probably not going to counter very much. So Thoughtseize is a high-value card. Reasonable to use a counterspell here.
There is the new counterspell in Clash of Wills from Magic Origins. We have seen this type of effect before. Broken Ambitions, the one that is most memorable for me, given that I was seeing plays in the Fairies deck of that standard. Never the most impressive counterspell, but gets the job done.
Exactly. Totally functional.
A Temple of Deceit there from Aintrazi and a passing of the turn. Coffey will take a draw step.
Power Sync was the version that I played with.
Ah, right, because you're old.
Yep.
Got it. Polluted Delta here for Coffey as we head back on Aintrazi's way. I would like to kind of group Condescend in there, but Condescend is so much better than the rest of them because of Scry 2.
Yes, that's not a small little added bonus there. That's substantial.
Here's another Thoughtseize from Aintrazi. He is playing 4 copies of that card this weekend.
0 copies in Douglas's deck, and that's a big edge for Ollie in this matchup. Life total doesn't really matter very much. The information is very valuable, and it gives Ollie a way to initiate the action, which is something desirable in a control deck.
We'll get a look at Coffey's hand. You'll find a copy of Anticipated, Jace's Ingenuity. Looks like another Polluted Delta, a Perilous Vault, and a Haven of the Spirit Dragon. Haven primarily bringing back Ugin, but there are also a couple dragons floating around in Coffey's deck list this weekend.
Yeah, 2 copies of Dragon Lord Slumgar, 2 copies of Slumgar the Drifting Death, and an Ugin.
Anticipate, not a card that we have seen much of. I know Adrian Sullivan, a big blue-black proponent, felt that Anticipate was really not where you want to be in this deck. And it seems as though many people followed suit with him.
It's a lot of mana relative to the output. Now, it does do some stuff to grease the wheels and dig through time, and the selection's nice, but not surprising to see it cut altogether. Also not surprising to see in the deck. I can buy any number from 0 to 4, really.
Here is Anticipate. You saw Aintrazi play a copy of Dismal Backwater, too, so that's why he's back up to 20. Coffey will take a look at the couple of cards here and get to select one of them. The rest will go to the bottom of the deck, and we'll head back to Douglas for his 4th turn of the game. A little more action on the opening turns than I expected here.
Well, the spells are all set up. I think Ollie now, having seen a hand with no counter spells, we may see him go for Demonic Pact next turn if it's in his hand. Coast looks relatively clear.
I can only hope so.
That's what we're here for.
He'll start by sacrificing Polluted Delta down to 19. It does appear as though Ollie is looking to play more of a main phase game with his deck. You would think of, Demonic Pact or a blue-black control deck, but Demonic Pact is a 4-mana spell he wants to tap out for in his own turn. He has copies of Ashiok. He's got copies of Read the Bones. He has copies of Dark Petition, Treasure Cruise. Main deck copies of Erebos' Titan. So he's playing a lot more in the main phase than being super reactive.
And as a result of that, you see fewer counter spells. There's still 0 copies of Dissolve in his list. I'm guessing, yes. Just tapping out a bunch.
You'll find counterspells in the sideboard, and we will get there soon enough. See what Aintrazi wants to cast this turn, if anything. My Pact is such an interesting card, too, because, you're maybe a little gun-shy to cast that thing. It's a little bit scary, but he's going to go for it, and it is finally here. You see the modes available on this card. Let the fun begin.
The issue is, the reason that Ollie's got to be a little concerned is now he has to win a counterspell fight over something like, Disperse.
Yep.
Whatever his action is to get this card back in his hand. Now, he gets a lot of value out of along the way. He gets a Mind Rot, a Divination, a Drain for 4. Good stuff, but now, if Douglas happens to just draw back-to-back counter spells, let's say, it's possible Ollie loses a game where he looked pretty comfortably ahead.
Aintrazi has made his deal with the Devil, as Coffey does play land number 5, sacrificing 2 polluted deltas, so an island. And we'll see what other land is on the way here in just a moment, likely to be a swamp. And it is. We know that Coffey has a copy of Jace's Ingenuity in hand, so maybe right now it's not a bad time to resolve the 5-mana draw spell. The Demonic Pact is here for the Season 2 Invitational Champion, so this should be interesting.
If Douglas is going to cast it anyway, he might as well cast it now while Ollie is tapped out. Also, he wants to cushion himself from a potential Mind Rot that's coming off of the Demonic Pact.
There is Jace's Ingenuity, so 3 cards coming here for Coffey. As you mentioned, cushioning himself a bit from the Mind Rot that could be coming this time. Over to Aintrazi we go. What mode will Ollie select here on the Demonic Pact? It's got 1 counter. And it looks like it will be the Mind Rot mode. Languish, a good card to discard.
Yep. Not a lot to be done with that card here.
Not at all. Ashiok the draw. This one backwater is going to bring Aintrazi up to 20. And now here's Erebos' Titan.
Ollie busting out all the new cards.
Absolutely. This one is a heavy hitter.
It is not small. And seems pretty awesome in this matchup since there aren't going to be many creatures in play on Douglas' side of the table.
Yeah. Seems to be very good in the blue-black control mirror. As long as your opponent controls no creatures, Erebos Titan has indestructible. And Douglas is not going to do that very often. Again, he's got Slumgar, the drifting deck, and Dragon Lord Slumgar as creatures. That's really it, as he's going to resolve a dig through time right now. But Hero's Downfall, Bio Blight, Languish, not going to get the job done against that thing.
Nope.
This is another card we did not see last weekend. We did see some new cards and some innovative decks, but there are a lot of cards in Magic Origins we did not see last weekend that I'm hoping we get to see this weekend, and 2 of them are already on the battlefield here for Aintrazi. Coffey going to take a look at the top 7 cards. He'll, of course, take 2 with him here in just a moment.
I believe Ollie's still behind the race, as it were, with his Demonic Pact.
For now. But a lot can change.
Because he gets in 2 hits and a drain for 4 before dying. And Douglas is at 17. So Ollie still needs a little bit of help.
So would you say the clock is ticking?
There's several clocks ticking right now. Douglas does not answer this threat very easily.
Yep.
That's a clock. And Ollie's Demonic Pact, that's another one.
Looks like dig through time is all set. There's a Temple of Deceit for Coffey. He'll take a look at the top card, leave that on top pretty quickly, so happy with what he saw. However, if you're on Aintrazi, you have to be pretty happy right now because no blue mana available here for Coffey.
Yep, shields are down.
Here's Hero's Downfall. That resolves.
Yep.
That's good.
Resolves.
That's perfectly fine. My creature is indestructible. I will promise you that's not the first time that's going to happen to Ollie today.
No, not at all.
No.
Now, I think that Aintrazi has a second copy of Demonic Pact in his hand, in which case I think the race is good for him because he gets a drain for 4 off the second one before losing to the first one.
Aintrazi going to take 2 cards here. Now he'll draw a card for the turn. If there is a second copy of Demonic Pact, they do stack relatively well.
Yeah, in a manner of speaking.
In a weird way. In a weird way they do. It's a weird card. First things first. Get in there, Titan. Why does Erebos get a Titan? Why doesn't everyone have a Titan? Doesn't seem particularly fair.
I don't know.
I'm just going to put that out there.
I don't know if the gods are necessarily equal opportunity in that sense.
Where's the Forest Titan? Aintrazi figuring out what he wants to do in his second main phase. Attacking was the easy part after all. Demonic Pact that appears to be in hand. Might have a copy of Dark Petition in hand that it could be tapping out for here. Looks like it is Dark Petition. All the new hits.
And there's 2 copies of Thoughtseize in the graveyard,
Yep.
so the Dark Ritual will be happening.
Spell Mastery is certainly achieved.
This card is very sweet in Ollie's deck as it allows him to tutor for Disperse to get his Demonic Pact off the table. There's also some sweet one-ups here like Treasure Cruise and Languish that are just fine cards to have as one-up in your control deck, but that you would want to tutor for in certain spots.
Yeah. Might be time to go Disperse hunting, though. The clock is ticking on that Pact. Now, keep in mind, Aintrazi has not played a land yet this turn.
If you're working under the assumption that your opponent just cannot beat Erebos' Titan, or it's very hard for them to beat Erebos' Titan, I don't mind a conservative path here with Demonic Pact. Just get it off the table and allow Erebos' Titan to do its work.
Yeah, likewise. Aintrazi going to sacrifice Blue to Delta, go down to 19, search up a swamp.
Now, if he's searching up a swamp, I suspect that means he's not actually trying to do that.
Oh, baby. Second Pact. Oh, yes. I am loving this.
So remember, he gets to drain for 4 off of both of them if he wants to, and then attack with Erebos' Titan. And even gaining 1 doesn't quite get him out of range.
Let's see what this is. Dragonlord Slumguard, that's going to be a bit of a problem. That will take Erebos' Titan.
So now Aintrazi definitely needs to have a bounce spell for the first Pact.
He's got 2 upkeep triggers here. 1 for each Pact. It appears as though Aintrazi does have a Disperse in hand. It looks like that's what he tutored for.
So wait and play the second Pact in case Douglas did nothing, he could go for the kill.
Yep.
And had the Disperse as backup in case something went wrong.
So one mode is obviously going to be the drain mode because he has no choice on that because he's not going to select lose the game. The other one with the first counter, we'll figure out what that was. It's unclear. It looks like it was a Mind Rot.
I believe he pointed at Dragonlord Salumgar as the target for the drain for 4.
Sure.
Meaning a removal spell is probably coming, something like Bioblight.
Does 4 damage to target creature or player, and then you gain 4 life. So perhaps he decided, I will deal some damage to Dragonlord Slumguard and then Bioblight to finish it off to get my Titan back.
Yep. And then can disperse the initial Pact that's about to kill him.
Yep. All part of the plan here for Aintrazi.
A lot of ins, a lot of outs.
All right, bounce that. Excuse me, kill that. Not bouncing it. Give me my Titan back. There's a Blue to Delta.
It's great to watch Demonic Pact like this because there's no question Ollie's getting a lot of power out of these cards.
Sure.
He's getting definitely his mana's worth, but it is a harrowing adventure along the way. He has to constantly be worried about how he's going to manage these cards.
A mistake cannot be made.
Nope. But in the meantime, for 4 mana, he's got a Drain for 4, a Divination, and a Mind Rot. Not a bad deal.
No, not at all. Here's Disperse. It's going to bounce the Pact. Give me this back.
Combo deck.
And now here's Ashiok. That elevator's going up. Going to turn over 3 cards. Doesn't appear any of your creatures here for Coffey. He only does play 4 after all. So it's very unlikely that Ashiok will find any. And back to Coffey we go, as Aintrazi has worked his way out of that situation. Coffey going to play Day Through Time, search for some help. Plenty of cards in the graveyard to delve away. And let's see what Coffey's able to find here. Because what's also unique about this situation is we know another Demonic Pact could be coming next turn.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. The resets on this thing are huge.
He doesn't die to the second one before he dies to the first one, so there's no harm in casting the second one.
Yeah. Boy, oh boy.
Jeff Hoagland went pretty deep last week with the new cards.
As he oftentimes does.
I think Ollie went a little bit deeper.
I am hard-pressed to argue with you. I have some Erebos' Titan trivia for after this game.
Okay.
Someone has informed me why Erebos has a Titan via Twitter. Nice work. Hadar12, by the way. I appreciate that. All right, all Coffey news pass the turn back at 13. Aintrazi will select a mode here on Demonic Pact. 2 modes have been used, and that's why the die is there. He'll draw 2 cards. Now he'll draw a card for his turn. Swamp Hero's Downfall in hand, among others. Ashiok's going to tick up. 3 cards will get exiled, among them Ugin, Anticipate, and a Haven of the Spirit Dragon.
And no question Ollie was going to do that, especially after Douglas scried and lift on top.
For sure. Here comes that indestructible Titan. There's a Swamp. How about a Demonic Pact? Does this one resolve?
It's an interesting spot here for Douglas because he can decide whether or not he wants to try to win the fight over Ollie's attempt to get the first one off the table or just continue to play the value game.
Well, there's going to be a dissolve here. It's interesting because Ollie's probably like, that's good and bad. He kind of needs it to win, but at the same time, it puts some pressure on him. But I suppose he already has. Well, never mind. There's another Demonic Pact. Okie dokie. And Coffey is at 8.
Yep.
So perhaps double drain mode's on the way.
As I believe, Mind Rot and Draw a card have been used.
Yep. And that's exactly why Coffey is picking up his cards, because his blue-black control deck, unsurprisingly, really has some difficulty getting enchantments off the table that are not creatures. Of course, your Crewfix, well, that's an enchantment and a creature, so that's not that hard. And he does have copies of Perilous Vault, I believe, in his deck, but those are really being stretched.
I think that Douglas probably should have played out from there because he does have Dismal Backwaters in his deck. That gets him to 9. I'm not sure if he can answer Erebos Titan or not, but maybe a little preemptive, but looked like Ollie was in a commanding position nonetheless.
Aintrazi is going to win game number 1 here over Douglas Coffey. Demonic Pact up a game over Blue-Black Control as we take a look at Coffey's sideboard and see what kind of options he has against this wacky brew.
3 copies of Drown Sorrow, 2 copies of Duress, 2 copies of Tassiger, 2 copies of Foul Tongue Invocation, 2 Negates, a Dragon Lord's Prerogative, a Pearl Lake Ancient, a Perilous Vault, and an Ultimate Price. A lot of really good options here. Love the Pearl Lake Ancient and the Dragon Lord's Prerogative for a control matchup. I think Negate and Foul Tongue Invocation. Foul Tongue Invocation gives him an answer to Erebos' Titan, which, as we saw game 1, very problematic for Douglas' deck. The 2 copies of Duress, and I think the Tassigers are fine as well.
On the other side of things here for Ollie, some spice. 2 self-inflicted wounds, a virulent plague, a murderous cut, a duress, 2 Freakus Cure, 3 Drowning Sorrow, 2 Disdainful Stroke, an Ashiok, a Slumguard the Drifting Deck, and a Shifting Loyalties.
Just the control game stuff here. The Slumguard, the Ashiok, 2 copies of Disdainful Stroke, and the Duress seem awesome here. I don't think this is a Shifting Loyalties matchup. I'm trying to guess what that's in the Ollie's sideboard for. The best guess I can come up for is decks with enchantments, where you can let Demonic Pact do its thing for a couple turns, and then give it to your opponent before it's about to kill you. You take one of their enchantments, and then they die to the Demonic Pact on their upkeep.
So it sounds like what you're saying to me is no tradesy backsies.
No tradesy backsies.
No, that's
Little
off the
Illusions donate action.
Okay.
We haven't seen it in quite some time.
Well, of course, Aintrazi is our Season 2 Invitational Champion, as most of you are well aware. He beat Chris Van Meter, his good friend, in the finals, and that's why you're able to get his wonderful token and a couple different ways to get it.
Absolutely. Congratulations again to Aintrazi, our Season 2 Invitational Champion, and with this Angel token featuring his son Aiden. A variety of ways to get this. Anytime you attend any of our Open Series events, like right now in Richmond, any of the 5K Premier IQs, whether the ones we hold on Sunday during our Opens or the ones you can bring to your local store, or any order from StarCityGames.com in excess of $5.
Season 3 Invitational will be held in New Jersey, so we'll have another player token soon enough, but this one is fantastic and will be something that I imagine Ollie will keep for a long time with his son Aiden in the picture. Though no Angels in his deck this weekend, maybe a little bit of a disappointment there.
A little bit. But we can't criticize the absence of new cards.
True.
Because he has gone real deep here.
Now, as was mentioned, some Erebos Titan trivia.
Okay.
Erebos Titan was a monster that Gideon was tasked to kill by Heliod. So Heliod and Gideon were working together. After Gideon and his irregulars defeated it, Erebos appeared, and Gideon threw Heliod's spear at Erebos, which seems, if you think of it, pretty unnecessary.
That's a dramatic conclusion.
Killed the Titan, now throwing spears at Erebos. Erebos, however, deflected the spear back, and Gideon survived, but the Irregulars died, which is a reference to tragic arrogance. That event caused his spark to ignite in Gideon.
Gotcha.
So there you go.
And Erebos' Titan is imminently defeatable if you have creatures.
Sure.
So there you go.
Yep, makes sense.
Then it's just a 5/5.
Yeah.
Still pretty big, but
I'm just saying, I think the throwing of the spear was a touch aggressive. And I'm actually pretty happy for Erebos that he was able to deflect it back. Makes me happy.
I don't know. Erebos maybe is a bad guy. I'm not totally sure.
It's pretty unclear. Doesn't look to be the nicest person, but again, you just killed his Titan. I think you could just leave well enough alone, take your victory, and go home.
I kind of wish Erebos' Titan was quad black to cast.
Okay.
So then it would just get the devotion for Erebos.
See, we need a flavor judge.
Boom.
Yeah. Somebody hire this man for the design team. Just get that colorless symbol out of here.
I get it. They wanted to show up. They wanted to show up in more decks. It's okay. It just is a little sad that it's so easy to make it fulfill the devotion for Erebos.
Me and my Titan are giving beatdowns.
You'll leave that on the table.
Yeah.
2 indestructible threats going at it. Be great.
That would be great. Throw the spear now, Gideon.
Although if it was quad black to cast, probably not in Ollie's deck. So
I don't think so. I think Ollie would still find room.
Maybe.
Now, one card that Ollie does have in his deck that we haven't even seen yet, there are 4 copies of Jace Vryn's Prodigy here. And I'm hoping to see that maybe show up this game.
It's a card I'm actually a little bit surprised is in Ollie's deck because his deck seems so good at invalidating spot removal. And Jace does have a pretty big target on its head. But, you know, it is cheap, and even if you only activate it once and then it dies, you still get something out of it.
Yeah, it is really good. That's for sure.
But Erebos' Titan, pretty hard to kill, assuming that you're backing it up with removal spells. And the rest of his deck is essentially planeswalkers, so willing to stomach the cost of having a creature that's easy to kill with targeted removal. A little bit surprising.
Looks like Coffey going to take a mulligan here. See if he can find a better hand to work with. Demonic Pact, very impressive last game, though. Start with a Temple.
Oh, it did a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. He didn't lose to it, so it did a lot. That's how that card works.
See where that top card's going to go. It's going to the bottom here for Coffey. Aintrazi will draw. He'll start with a Temple of Deceit as well. That top card going to stay on top. Back over to Coffey. There is the network.
Yep. And this is a big deal in a control matchup. Puts a lot of pressure on Ollie to be the aggressor, to be the one acting first, because Douglas is going to win the mana advantage given enough time, even if he misses a land drop here or there.
Very, very reminiscent of the depletion lands, I guess we can call them, from Time Spiral. Or the charge lands, I think, is a better way to describe them. But Dreadship Reef and company. Here is a Duress. 2 copies of Perilous Vault, a Dragonlord Slumguard to go along with a Dismal Backwater and a Swamp here.
Another very vulnerable hand here for Douglas.
Yep. No protection. Some powerful cards, to be sure. Aintrazi will take a Perilous Vault as he has no other option. Coffey will charge up the network. 1 counter on there. A land that should be very, very good for Coffey in this matchup. Though, again, Aintrazi's not a pure control deck. He's more of a mid-range kind of weird deck that's going on here. Definitely happy to tap out on his own turn.
He definitely has a top end, and he's got Ugin as well. But, yeah, he's not a sit on his heels and try to counter and react to everything you do sort of control deck. He's trying to tap out for things and overpower you.
Here is Ashiok. It did hit a creature in Silumgar the Drifting Death. The rest will be exiled in Foul Tongue Invocation and Anticipate. Foul Tongue Invocation, a card we haven't seen for some time.
It's gone down a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, the format at least recently has been a little bit less about killing particular threats that are hard to kill. And the number of Sacred Wayfinders floating around does a lot of damage to that card as well. Still valuable to have in your 75 somewhere. I don't know if Douglas necessarily had Erebos Titan in mind when this card entered sideboard, but good to have some answers because we saw what kind of problems it created for him game 1.
Bloodstain and Mire are going to be sacrificed here by Coffey. He'll get a swamp out of his deck. Down to 19 he goes. Perhaps it is time for a Perilous Vault to join the battlefield. We all know he has one, including Ali Aintrazi. So there is the vault. That'll be an answer to Shock, which can't be problematic in the matchup. So we'll head back on Trazi's way here momentarily.
That's a lot of mana and turns to answer a Planeswalker. And if Douglas has to tap out to do it preemptively to prevent Ali from getting the Slum Garden to play for free, that's another window for Ali to resolve some huge play.
Shock will tick up. Now here's a Read the Bones. It's a good way to take a turn off.
Yep.
Aintrazi will scry 2. Of course, draw 2 and lose 2.
The absence of counterspells in Ali's deck definitely comes with some risks in this kind of matchup because he is a bit vulnerable to Douglas just top decking something that matters and resolving it. But in every other aspect, he's hammering Douglas in the matchup. He's got more discard spells. He's got more meaningful cards. You know, Douglas has more cantrips, more spot removal spells without targets and so forth. So as long as Douglas doesn't draw something huge at an opportune time, I think Ali's got a big edge as this game progresses.
Aintrazi done resolving Read the Bones. Also played a Temple of Deceit and Scryed. We're going back to Coffey, who does have an island at play. Could blow up that Perilous Vault on the main phase to slow down Ashiok a little bit, but that means the shields will be down. I suppose the question is, does he care? Back to Aintrazi we go. Slumga wants to join the party.
Ali knows this is likely to die, but at least wants to force Douglas's hand on the Perilous Vault.
For sure. Perhaps another Read the Bones on the way. Again, really great time to do that because Douglas's hand is so forced with his Perilous Vault.
Exactly. Ali doesn't want to add something to the board this turn. It's just going to die anyway. So this is a great turn to just cast a cantrip, make some land drops, set up, force Douglas to blow the Perilous Vault, and then start resolving permanents the following turn.
Scry 2, draw 2, lose 2. That's what Aintrazi will do. One thing to note here, especially in Ali's deck, and I think this is going to be the case for a lot of decks that contain cards with Spell Mastery, very easy to achieve.
Yeah. Oh, for Ali's deck, it's trivial. And I think that's part of the reason you see the main deck Thoughtseizes. Not because Thoughtseize is a hard card to include into your black deck, but in part to make sure that the Spell Mastery is a little bit more reliable. And in fact, in the first game, when we saw him achieve the Spell Mastery, it was with 2 Thoughtseizes in the graveyard.
It's so simple. And Jace will certainly help in that regard as well, if it ever comes to that. The network is being used. So it looks like 4 mana here to play another copy of Perilous Vault with 2 mana available.
And Douglas trying to resolve this with negate backup, so willing to use the counters off the network.
Clearly making Perilous Vault a huge priority.
Ali's shown a lot of interest in resolving permanents, so it makes some sense. But Ali is ahead so much in terms of card advantage that the Perilous Vault is one of those things where if it resolves, that's fine for Ali. He can probably bleed it off the table with 1, maybe 2 threats.
And what did resolve? Disdainful Stroke was attempted by Aintrazi, but a negate took care of that, so Perilous Vault is on the battlefield. Aintrazi now sacrificing a Polluted Delta. He's down to 15. An island or a swamp on the way.
But a good setup for Ali, who has Ashiok and Thoughtseize to work with. So he can attack Douglas's hand, resolve the Ashiok. That probably forces the Perilous Vault, if not this turn, then somewhere down the line. And Ali's still got, 4 or 5 cards left over in his hand to work with.
Let's see what's next here for the Season 2 Invitational Champion. He'll go with the Slumgar. This one's his own. I'll pass the turn back. There's Slumgar in the sideboard here for Aintrazi this weekend, just 1. Main deck creatures, he has a Tassiger, 4 Jaces, and 3 Erebos Titan. A Duress here from Coffey. He's going to see a lot of cards from 'Ashiok, a Treasure Cruise, a Thoughtseize, a Hero's Downfall, and a Dark Petition. We saw the power of Dark Petition last game. Spell Mastery, very easy to achieve. And Search Step a Disperse.
This is a hard hand to attack. I almost feel like the Downfall and the Ashiok are off the table, leaving it with Demonic Tutor, Ancestral Recall, and a Thoughtseize.
Tough choice.
Not an easy hand
Tough
for
choice.
Douglas to pick apart here.
It's actually kind of crazy, too, because, you know, we could see Ali in the same turn cast Dark Petition into Treasure Cruise. That's not hard to do at all.
No.
Especially with the mana jump that you get. Oh, there goes Treasure Cruise. Now here's dig through time from Coffey. Shields are down. Coffey will take advantage of it. He's got an idea of what's in Aintrazi's hand, so he knows what to dig for. Answer to Silumgar on the table in Perilous Vault, though it is an expensive way to take care of the dragon.
And given how permanent heavy Ali's deck is, Douglas might be willing to sit here, take some lumps from Slumgar, build up the Mage Ring network, and just try to prevent Ali from adding more permanents to the table for a little while in the face of the Perilous Vault.
And there's a Temple. A little scry action here from Coffey. Top card of the Spirits, though, it's going to go to the bottom. Now we go on Aintrazi's way. Disperse in hand now. He's casting Thoughtseize. Good idea of what's in Coffey's hand, especially post dig through time. Dragonlord Slumgar and Jace's Ingenuity. I think I want that card drawer.
Me too. If the game's all about just one-for-ones, Ali's got Douglas covered easily.
You note that Aintrazi does have some cards upside down in his hand. Those are the cards that Coffey saw from the duress earlier. Something new that people have really been adopting recently is turning the cards that people see from discard spell upside down so that you know that as a player, that's what they're tracking.
Exactly. That way you know. That way if you happen to have, let's say, you have 2 swamps in your deck, but they have different art. You don't want to play the one with the art they haven't seen because they know that you drew that swamp and haven't played another one. So it doesn't come up a ton, but it can do nothing but protect you from giving away information.
To Coffey we go with a Dragonlord Slumgar and a mystery card in hand. Perilous Vault on the battlefield, along with 6 lands. Among those lands, there is a Mage Ring network that he can begin charging up again. But Aintrazi seems content to sort of play this game, which is, you're going to have to do something about Dragonlord Slumgar eventually. You're also going to have to do something about this Dark Petition. Looks like Jace's Ingenuity may have been the draw here for Coffey last turn.
Yeah, left it on top with his Temple. Thought about it for a while, and good thing he did because his first Jace's Ingenuity was hit with that discard spell.
So 3 cards on the way here for Coffey. Now Dark Petition is resolving. I'm curious to see what Aintrazi is going to search up. There's 3 black mana floating. Thoughtseize not a bad choice.
Especially in the face of a Jace's Ingenuity just resolving.
It looks like Thoughtseize is going to be the weapon of choice for Aintrazi. Spell Mastery, super easy to achieve here, so that's why you see the 3 black mana floating.
Yeah, Read the Bones helps out a lot too. It's just a spell that you cast in your early turns, and then turn 5, turn 6 rolls around, and Spell Mastery is achieved without you putting in any particular effort.
It appears Aintrazi does have a copy of Dark Petition in hand too. Curious to see if he wants to play it in the face of this Perilous Vault. Here's Thoughtseize. Dragonlord Slumgar we already knew about. Clash of Wills dissolve into Haven of the Spirit Dragon are the other options here for Aintrazi.
With Aintrazi having Hero's Downfall in hand, I think it's very likely to be dissolved. Clash of Wills is losing a lot of value, and he does have an answer to the dragon.
Well, you called it. There goes Dissolve. do really like the way that Aintrazi's pacing this game. He's putting enough threats on the battlefield to make it so that Douglas needs to build a Perilous Vault, and when he does, that's when we go back to Demonic Pact.
Exactly. And with a second card entering play, a second high-value card entering play, I think Douglas's hand is forced on using the Perilous Vault.
Going to exile 3 cards with Ashiok. Dragon Lord Slumgar's going to come across. Looks like Coffey's going to go down to 13 now. And we're going to head back Coffey's way. Clash of Wills, Dragon Lord Slumgar, Haven of the Spirit Dragon, and it looks like maybe another Clash of Wills added to the hand now. The Haven will be played. We'll see how Douglas wants to play this turn out. And Clash of Wills is pulling him one direction, Perilous Vault kind of pulling him in the other.
Yeah.
Kind of wants to activate Perilous Vault on his main phase.
Well, I think he can afford to take a hit and another Ashiok activation if he really prioritizes holding up the Clash of Wills.
Looks like Douglas does have a question here. So we'll see what that is soon enough. But certainly a good start here for Ali Aintrazi. Coffey just having a difficult time. His blue-black control deck doesn't appear to line up very well against what Aintrazi's trying to do.
Yeah, well, I think the big thing is just the amount of discard that Ali has access to. 4 copies of Thoughtseize has busted the games wide open. Also, these control decks often are light on cards that can win the game. And so you can play a game where I'm just saving my counter spells for your 3 or 4 cards that can actually kill me. Ali's got a lot of cards that can kill him or generate so much value that the game's effectively over. So he's pressuring Douglas's counter spells a lot more than Douglas is pressuring Ali's answers.
Here is an attack for 3. You saw Ashiok's activation. It's 11-10 in favor of Aintrazi. Life totals typically don't come up very much in blue-black control mirrors like we're watching here, but Aintrazi's build of this blue-black control like Demonic Pact means life totals actually matter a lot.
Yep. Erebos' Titan is also very challenging for Douglas to answer, and now he's within 2-shot range of that.
The network will be charged, and Perilous Vault will be broken. And now Coffey gets to untap. Reset at the board. Play an Opulent Palace. No green splash in his deck, just another blue-black dual land there.
And Douglas is running out of card drawers. We've seen a lot of copies of Drake Through Time, a lot of copies of Jace's Ingenuity cast. He's on a 3-2 split. And I think he's going to have a very hard time keeping up unless he's able to keep the card advantage engine humming.
Bloodstained Mire the land there for Aintrazi. He'll pass the turn back. Looks like the network is going to charge up a little bit. So a bit of a holding pattern now here for both players. Aintrazi will sacrifice that Bloodstained Mire. Swamp on the way. No Ravnical Dual Lance to search up in this format.
So now, again, as I mentioned earlier, we have reached the stage of the game where Ali is vulnerable to some top decks.
Yes.
Doesn't have a lot in the way of counter spells. He's not burying Douglas right now with his permanents. And so if they're playing draw go, Douglas with more counter spells, a lot better suited to play that game, especially with a Majoring Network. He can set up resolving something big.
And this was kind of your fear if we ever gotten to this position.
From Ali's side of the deck, from his side of the matchup, yes.
Well, Thoughts is a way to crack it open. Negate will slow that down. Aintrazi tried to resolve a spell now, though. Looks like the answer is no, and you can see just what kind of advantage Majoring Network can generate in this sort of matchup if Coffey is given time to activate it a lot, which now he's been given that.
Yeah, and he's typically going to have that kind of time in the matchup. He is playing 2 copies in the main deck. That's a lot of copies of that card. There are some costs here. He's got Dissolves and Bile Blights in his deck. It's definitely not free, but in this matchup, the card puts Ali under a lot of pressure.
Obviously, the goal, if you're Aintrazi, is to make it so that he never gets to this point.
Yeah. In game 1, Ali actually won a fairly fast game.
Here's Jace. You wonder how much Coffey prepared for that card. Well, he's got an answer. It's Hero's Downfall. Aintrazi does have a copy of Disperse in hand. Perhaps he's considering using that. Disperse typically reserved for Demonic Pact in this matchup, but Ali doesn't really have a lot going on right now.
Yep. I mean, he has the option. If he feels like Demonic Pact is no good here or too risky, he can disperse the Jace, try to resolve the next turn, hopefully activate it once, discard the Demonic Pact or a land if he happens to draw one, then flash back the Thoughtseize in the graveyard.
Gets to work that way.
Right.
There's got to be a Clash of Wills. So the exchange is won there by Coffey. And now here, while the window is open, perhaps no. Oh, this was all end of turn.
This was end of turn.
Never mind. That makes sense.
Yeah, Douglas would not have tapped that low fighting over a Disperse.
Yes.
Unless we were at the end of Ali's turn.
Pass turn back. Aintrazi showed his hand a little bit there. See if he goes for Demonic Pact now. He will. This is risky business. Looks like Douglas has no interest in letting this resolve. It'll be a very large Clash of Wills. That'll take care of that.
Douglas has just picked up a Dissolve. Another great draw.
Yep. Hero's Downfall, the draw there for Aintrazi. Just going to pass the turn back over to Coffey. Coffey will play a Polluted Delta very quickly, pass the turn back. Dissolve and Clash of Wills in hand. The network's going to begin charging again. Aintrazi with the Jace. It's a real test spell.
But again, not too hard for Douglas to answer. He still has all these Heroes Downfalls in his deck that he's has in because of Ashiok and who knows what else is going on in Ollie's deck. And so not hard for him to answer these copies of Jace.
2 counters on the Majoring Network now. That's why you see the die there above the lands on Douglas Coffey's side. Aintrazi will draw, play Dismal Backwater, gain a life up to 11, pass that turn back. Coffey going to sacrifice a Delta, it appears. Get the land out of his deck, he'll go down to 9, it'll be a basic island. Coffey does have Haven of the Spirit Dragon down there. It's curious if he has any dragons or not.
Well, the big thing right now is that Douglas has Pearl Lake Ancient, and with Ollie having nothing going on, he can fend this card off for a little while with Hero's Downfall, but unless he gets something going fast, it's eventually going to kill him.
It's been a long time since we've seen this sort of gameplay.
Yep.
Pearl Lake is oftentimes the way that Blue-Black tries to win the game. Aintrazi taking a much more unorthodox approach this weekend. You'll see a Hero's Downfall. Remember, this card can't be countered, and it's basically impossible to kill. Now, Aintrazi can throw him for a little bit of a loop here because he has 3 copies of Hero's Downfall in hand. So he can make life pretty difficult here for Coffey.
Yeah, Ollie's got 9 mana available. He might try to set him back quite a bit with all these downfalls.
Yep. Now Coffey does have some counter magic in hand. A card like Clash of Wills. So let's say I'll clash one of these, so I don't have to pick up 3 lands again. Now Aintrazi might just fire off again here with another Hero's Downfall. Which I like.
Yeah, these downfalls aren't getting any better.
Nope.
Once Douglas has committed 3 lands, you might as well make him commit 6.
He'll also have to discard probably. Well, definitely. I suppose he could let the Pearl Lake Ancient go, but I feel like it's almost too important to let go.
Yeah. I'm not letting it go in this spot. In the long term, Ollie can't answer it. It's not like he's doing anything right now that would necessitate your lands. And make sure that Erebos' Titan is easy to manage.
We got a player down to, one of those lands is tapped as well. You see Aintrazi pointing that out. And Douglas Coffey is down to 4 lands in the battlefield. Now, the tough thing here for Aintrazi, he doesn't really have any good cards in his hand right now, so drawing a card like Demonic Pact or Dark Petition would be very helpful for him because the shields are down.
Erebos' Titan would be fine here as well, as
Yes.
Douglas is a couple turns away from being able to redeploy the Pearl Link.
There's a Dismal Backwater.
And that one stings, because now Douglas is untapping with all of his mana, maybe has a counter spell, and that was the one window Ollie really had to draw something substantial and shift the game back into his favor.
Oh, here's a Thoughtseize. That's a way to go after that Pearl Link Ancient, but a Dissolve will protect it. Looks like top card goes to the bottom from the scry. Coffey will play a copy of Anticipate now. So take a look at the top couple of cards. He'll get to take one. Coffey will play an island. Here's Dragonlord Slumgar. Happy to toss that out there now because you have to assume that Ollie's out of removal.
Yeah, you cast 3 copies of Hero's Downfall.
Yeah.
Seems like a good spot, you know?
Here's a Jace off the top of the deck for Aintrazi. Powerful card. Don't know if it's enough to save from this situation. I suppose we'll find out momentarily. Here comes Dragonlord. Aintrazi down to 9. Dig through time for Coffey.
Most likely looking for an answer for the Jace, as he does not want Ollie to untap, loot, and then just downfall the dragon for essentially for free.
Yeah, Aintrazi with just a copy of Bloodstained Mire in hand. Jace gonna go active, draw and discard. Now Jace is flipping. Starts on 5 counters. We'll see how Aintrazi wants to use the Telepath Unbound, a card that was very impressive in Chicago last weekend.
Ooh, flashback. Demonic Tutor is pretty awesome.
That's not bad. Look at you. Easily amused.
Easily. This takes some work.
It's true. Looks like it's resolving. So now we're tutoring. But what are we tutoring for? Oh, big Papa Ugin. Hard for me to say no to that. Maybe a Thoughtseize or a Duress to try to clear the path. A lot of options here. Dark Petition is an interesting card. It's a card that, you know, when it was spoiled, everyone's saying, okay, this thing is pretty powerful. How powerful is it? It's unclear, but it's pretty powerful.
Yeah, I was not sold, but in slower games where you have time to cast it, it's going to be really powerful.
Yeah, it's looked good in this match. I have liked what I've seen. Aintrazi has found a card he's happy with. It's Ashiok time. That'll resolve. 3 cards are going to get exiled. Dragonlord's Prerogative among them. What's next for Aintrazi? Looks like nothing, so we head over to Coffey. Coffey with an island. I think Coffey with an Ugin. Here comes Dragonlord Slumgar. Coffey gonna pass the turn back with access to Pearl Link Ancient. And Ollie wants to know how many cards do you have left. The deck count, always fun.
I'm a little surprised to see Douglas not go after Jace in this spot, because Ollie can now untap and plus the Jace on the Slumgar, and now Douglas has very little in the way of pressure.
It was 8 cards. Now it's down to 5.
If the goal was to get Ollie into lightning bolt range and kill him with Ugin, that's going to be a lot harder to do now because Douglas's clock has gone from 3 points of damage to a turn to 1 point of damage.
Well, Pearl Link Ancient's on the way.
This is true. But then you're vulnerable to Ali fending it off with bounce spells and so forth.
That's what it looks like he's going to do. He immediately searched for Disperse.
And the problem is, if you don't kill Jace, then Jace is plussing, and now it's flashbacking another spell next turn, and that probably gives Ali just enough defense to save you off from killing him.
And now we're going to go to the Pact. Yes. Mind Rot mode might be pretty good here. Now remember, Douglas is down to 5 cards. Here's Prolic Ancient. Does Ali disperse now or later? He's going to disperse now.
No. Do not let Douglas untap.
Get that out of here.
You got him on a 1-turn clock in essence.
Douglas down to 4 cards in the deck. Ugin! I want to see if you can make your opponent draw 2 cards. But it's you who gets to draw 2. See how Ugin will be used. That's going to go down. I believe 4 cards right now in Coffey's deck. And what I think Aintrazi is considering is bounce my Ashiok with Disperse, mill you again. Is that good enough to win?
I mean, if it's Disperse and Douglas has 4 cards left, it's no good.
Well, I think it actually is good. Because everything else is going to die, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so now Ali takes a hit. He goes down to 5.
Yep.
Replays Ashiok, mill you down to 1 card.
Douglas draws for his turn, and then he has a Lightning Bolt plus a...
So he's got to find a way to not take 5 this turn.
Right. If he can find a way to kill either permanent, then he should be good.
Sure. And we're in time in the round now, so let's see what Aintrazi draws. There's Ashiok. Mill you for 3, leave you with 1 card. And the draw for the turn, I believe, was Demonic Pact.
If that's the case, I think Douglas is barely going to pull this one out.
I think you are right.
I mean, give a lot of credit to Ali. He definitely identified his line.
Yep.
I think he knew pretty early it was going to come down to this.
Dragonlord Silumgar is going upstairs, as is Ugin. And that's going to tie things up here. And the player's already in extra turn, so it's going to be a tie total here for the match. It's going to be 1-1. And never a great start of the tournament with the draw, but it looks like that's what Douglas Coffey and Ali Aintrazi are going to do.
Yeah, top news for both players is now they're in the draw bracket, likely playing against other Dissolve decks. But definitely a very compelling set of games.
For sure.